This is the video about 1066 and all that. Okay, opening years of the new millennium, just after the year 1000, the current king of all England is Ethelred, known as the Unready, which actually means ill-advised, not unprepared. He's married to Emma, daughter of the Duke of Normandy. You'll want to keep track of Emma. She's rather important in this story. He orders the massacre of the Danes in England, and we're kind of causing trouble with the Danes yet again. Sweyn Forkbeard, current king of Denmark, attempts to invade, succeeds the third time. Ethelred and Emma flee, and England is once again under Danish rule. Well, sort of. Sweyn ends up dying after only 5 weeks of serving as king of both Denmark and England, and the throne of Denmark goes to his son Canute. It's rather awkward running two countries, and so Ethelred actually is brought back as the nominal king of England, though of course he is paying tribute to Denmark. When Ethelred dies, it turns out that Canute decides he wishes to take over as the king of England and defeats Ethelred's son in battle, who's actually contesting for the role. Canute ends up marrying Ethelred's widow Emma. You will also want to keep careful track of her. Okay, now Canute has died. His successors will be 2 sons from his first marriage. They will rule England between the 2 of them for 7 years. At that point, the son of Ethelred and Emma, his name is Edward, he will become Edward the Confessor, is going to become the king, and essentially this ends Danish rule in 1042. And in 1066, Edward dies without issue, as they say, and this is where the story gets interesting. Who is going to take over the throne of England when there is no obvious successor? The first choice is someone named Harold Godwinson. He is the nephew of Edward's wife, and he claims that Edward actually selected him to become the next king. Here you can see a picture of Harold sitting on the throne. The other person you might want to pay attention to here is choice number 2, William, the Duke of Normandy. He was the grandson of Emma's brother. He also claims that Edward chose him to be his successor to the throne of England. And we see a picture of him here on the throne. William is actually the Duke of Normandy. Normandy is in the northern coast of France. In order to get to England, he has to invade. This little map shows you the invasion route. Normandy is in the middle. That's really more of a town than a region, and he is taking his longboats across to Hastings, a town on the southern coast of England. By the way, Normandy is related to the word Norseman. The Normans are also descendants of the Danes or the Norwegians, just as an awful lot of the people in the northern part of England are. And as you can see, Harold is going to die in the Battle of Hastings. He's shot in the eyeball with an arrow. And the winner will be William, now known as William the Conqueror instead of just William the Duke of Normandy. He becomes the King of England in 1066, and he's going to completely change the landscape. He builds stone castles throughout England to fortify. The Tower of London is one of them. It's here in this picture. Normans will displace the English nobility. They are, of course, all coming over from the northern part of France, which means that French will now displace English as the official language of the courts. That means the royal court and also the legal courts. And the events of this year were commemorated in a tapestry that William had commissioned in the town of Bayeux, Normandy. The pictures that I've shown you are actually from that tapestry. And you can see on the LibGuide a link to the full tapestry, which you can actually still visit. So why is this even important? Well, the most important thing to remember is that English used to be the language of the English aristocracy, but they are the losers. They are going to continue to speak English, but if they know what's good for them, they're going to also learn French. Norman French, it's a dialect actually of French, is going to be the language of the aristocracy. Anyone determined to advance in the system will be speaking in French and reading in French and writing in French. Marie de France will be writing in Francian, which is actually a dialect of early French, but that's because she's related to the king in some way that none of us are quite been able to work out yet. So actually all writing will be in French for a little while there. Eventually, though, it takes about 100 years, the English being spoken by the English and the French being spoken by the Normans will merge into a new language, and it's going to turn into something which we now call Middle English. It's a very rich language. It pulls vocabulary from both French and from English. English grammar dominates, but an awful lot of French vocabulary comes in. Throughout this, by the way, Latin is going to continue as the language of the church. That doesn't change in the least.